Really appreciate y'all being here right now anyway for the solo stream. It's just me right now by myself. And Morgan's here too. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you guys could make it even with the schedule change and join me here today to discuss this episode, because otherwise I'd literally just be talking to myself and that would be very sad. So thank you so much for joining me today to discuss this episode. Today's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter stream, just because of all the delays and it's so late in the day already and I feel so awful. I feel really awful. Hi, Gem Princess. I'm so glad you could make it. I feel really awful. I feel really awful for my guest. I feel really awful for all of y'all who had to sit around waiting for me, but I'm here now. We're here to discuss Amphibia, so let's get into it. I'm so excited to discuss these episodes. Oh, thanks, Rooster. I really appreciate that. You guys are so sweet. I feel so blessed to have all of you here today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I always feel like I am like low-key letting people down whenever stuff like this happens. So the fact that you guys are here to discuss this episode with me today really means a lot. It really is appreciated. Thank you so much for joining us today. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about these two episodes that aired the other day, Mr. X and Sprig's Birthday. These were some really great episodes. They were really fun. They were really sweet, really wholesome. I don't think they were necessarily the most like exciting of the episodes that we've got so far in season 3, but I definitely very much enjoyed this. So we start off the episode here with a mysterious set of hands, and this person's at the computer. We've got a little Dougal puzzle piece here, and we've got like all these like weird fidget spinners around here. I don't know if that's supposed to be some weird device or if those are actually supposed to be fidget spinners, but they look like fidget spinners to me. And we've got Jenny. We find out that this person's name is Jenny, and I love these. Again, like Amphibia is so great when it comes to the details in like the backgrounds and all these little like things that they put here. So they've got like, you know, C++, fluent on Python here. So it seems to be that Jenny is at least some sort of coder or software engineer. The mug says something too. The mug says like hot cup of Joe or something along those lines. All the fidget spinners, yeah. Dougal has returned, absolutely. And yeah, I also related to Sprig a lot in these episodes, Egmer. My man's got to get his fidgeting in, for sure. Oh yeah, I also totally read this character as neurodivergent Zoe. Yeah, Jenny barely speaks at all, but I already love them. Yeah, me too. I really love their character design. I really love like the coiffed hair and the round glasses, and the fact that Jenny doesn't speak or anything like that is also kind of a fun character choice, especially like in contrast to Mr. X that we get here, right? So Mr. X is actually a pretty fun character. You know, I'm not really sure at this point in the story how seriously we're supposed to take him, right? He doesn't seem like he's as big of an antagonist as like Andreas is, for instance. Jenny is the best. I do agree that Jenny is the best. I will admit that Mr. X is a little soured for me. I think he's a fun character. I think he's got a really fun design. I think he's going to play a really fun part in the story. But unfortunately, I'm not that big of a fan of RuPaul. So the fact that RuPaul is voicing this character and that this character seems to be you know, kind of modeled off of RuPaul, puts a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth just because I'm not the biggest RuPaul fan. But I do also want to acknowledge, like, you know, how big of a celebrity he is and how kind of cool it is to get that big of a, like, mainstream celebrity in a show like Amphibia. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, unfortunately, RuPaul himself, I'm not that big of a fan of. I love how the whole fandom saw Mr. X in the trailer and thought RuPaul, and it ended up being RuPaul's voice. Yeah, exactly, right? Because I mean, they must have designed the character after him because it looks so much like him in real life, right? But Mr. X has got all these like really fun little alien paraphernalia all around his computer. He's got this mug. He's got these little action figures and stuff. So that's kind of fun. Andres is still a bigger threat because Mr. X doesn't casually kill children. Yeah. I think that's fair to say, Rooster. And one thing that Mr. X says in this scene as well, you know why they call me Mr. X, Jenny? It's because I deal with extraterrestrials. You know, he's got all these aliens all around. Um, Rumor has it there are a few in the area. And something that he says here as well, which makes me under the impression that he's not necessarily like a threat. This is also kind of a cute moment in the beginning, right? Where Mr. X is like, Jenny, you're the best. And it's like, Jenny, honey, are you blushing? And we get this serious face with Jenny. And again, they don't say anything. And they just like are blushing quietly to themselves, which I think is really, really cute. But yeah, Mr. X has this line here that I wanted to point out where he says something along the lines of like, somebody could get abducted, right? So I think that he's vaguely like a good intentioned guy. And maybe he just is like misunderstanding aliens or like beings from other worlds and stuff like that, because, you know, he seems to, you know, when he finds out Anne is the companion, he's like, oh, this isn't some 80s movie or whatever, right? So I think like, you know, Mr. X probably has like some idea of like what aliens are. We have no idea if he knows about Amphibia though. Like so far, the evidence seems to point that Mr. X really doesn't know anything about Amphibia or the Calamity Box or like the other dimensions or anything like that. He just seems to be really into aliens, and we really don't know how much information he has. But like, because he has all these like little alien figures and stuff, it leads me to believe that like he really doesn't have that much information, and that he's maybe just sort of going off of like what he believes and like movies and things like that, but not necessarily having much information or evidence himself. Wonder if there'll be other aliens in the show. Yeah, that would be really interesting to see, Zoe. The boiling isles. I wonder if Mr. X has actually seen aliens before. Yeah, exactly, Morgan. So we really don't know how much Mr. X knows. So I think like that's kind of why maybe he's not as big of a threat, and maybe he's not going to be a bad guy or a villain for the rest of season 3, right? Like I feel like there's a good chance that he's eventually going to kind of turn to our side. We get kind of a funny moment here, right, where Mr. X is like, sorry, this is the last popsicle, and I'm just gonna eat it in front of you, kid, while struggling to close the door, which is quite funny. But yeah, I am really interested to know if you guys think that Mr. X is gonna be a good guy, gonna be a bad guy, whether he might change alliances later on in the season. Why would someone whose greatest knowledge being movies be in the FBI? That's also a good question, Morgan. That's also a good question. So maybe the FBI has like some evidence of aliens and extraterrestrials, maybe? I don't know. We're gonna have to kind of wait to see and find out more information about that, huh? Jenny ends up searching on Dougal best local restaurants because they are hungry, and lo and behold, it leads them to Thai Go, which, you know, kudos to Thai Go and Anne's parents for being like the top rated restaurant and for having 5 stars. You know, they've got some orders coming in, which is cool. If there are aliens running around, the government does need to keep track of them, although I think could be way more chill about it, like, hey, put this tracker on. Yeah, that's true, Rooster. We really don't know how evil the government is. No grown man wears Heelys everywhere. Oh, we will talk about the Heelys, Morgan. We will absolutely talk about the Heelys. If the Calamity Box was just at a thrift store, I'm sure there's other connections to the other worlds. Yeah, for sure. For sure. RuPaul will. Yeah, right. So Anne's parents are feeling like pretty hyped, right? Like they're feeling the rush and the thrill from their last battle with the robot, with Cloakbot. Rest in peace, Cloakbot. You will be missed. And you know, Hop Hop and Sprig kind of have a cute moment here where they're like, you know, oh, you've got the post-battle euphoria and nothing like a brush with death to make you feel alive, which is quite funny. But Anne is more on the relieved side, right? The government is always evil. That's a really good point, Zoe. That is a really good point. So they end up deciding to go to a movie just to have fun, right? But I really do love Anne's parents here. They're so excited and so like ready to go. Anne's dad here trying to do a pull up and just completely falling on his back, which is quite adorable. Um, but you know they don't think that they're in any danger at this point because you know they got rid of the robot. We have so many fun little Easter eggs and references when it comes to these movie posters. This like bunny Looney Tunes looking guy looks like the GIF of that weird kind of freaky bunny that Polly came across when she was researching robotics. If you guys remember that sequence, there was like that weird dancing bunny. So I think this is the same bunny as that. We've got the Fumigator, another Fumigator movie. There's this like Trains with Faces, which I saw some people on Twitter saying that this was a reference to Infinity Train. I actually think it's like Thomas the Tank Engine because it has like a face on the front of it. But it's supposed to be kind of like a horror movie, which I thought was funny, like trains with faces, so scary. There's like Spy Guy 12, which is pretty funny. Some spy movie, maybe like a James Bond kind of reference. Suspicion Island 2, right? We got Suspicion Island in season 1, so we've got Suspicion Island 2 here, which is fun. Boss Dog. This one's probably my favorite. Number 1 good boy. Mondays are rough. So this seems to be kind of like, you know, a mix of like Boss Baby and like Garfield and like maybe a bunch of other things, but I thought this was really funny. And then there's some like 80s girl movie here as well. So yeah, we got a lot of fun Easter eggs and a lot of fun references at the movie theater with all these posters and stuff. And there's more that is that we'll see later on as well. Yeah, so we got a lot of fun movie posters and stuff here, and there's some more little like references and Easter eggs here too. I don't know about you guys, but like this whole like giant movie theater thing with like the mural and like all the movie stuff all over the place. I don't have a movie theater like this locally, but when I went to college, the movie theater that we had in our college town was like this, and they had like a huge mural just like that's taken up the whole wall of a movie theater. It's pretty crazy. So we get, you know, another Fumigator reference here. These characters on the right seem to be oh gosh, I forget their names, but they're the movie that Anne showed to Wortwood in season 1. And then if you guys remember, Polly and Sprig like split up in teams and they had like a civil war in Wortwood. But I believe these are the characters from that episode, which is really fun. And what I have really been enjoying about season 3 so far too is that we get kind of these background characters that are recurring characters, right? Like we've seen this girl before in like the mall. She's the one who had that like bada bing line, and then we see this purple-haired guy again. So yeah, we're kind of seeing these background human characters pop up more often, which is really fun. Sprig and Polly can finally get closure on their ship war. That's right. Didn't the last movie like end with a cliffhanger or something like that? And the sequel was supposed to be coming out, so maybe they can finally watch the sequel now. That's really funny. Yeah, here's some more of the movie posters. Fumigator 5. Some really good little background gags in this episode for sure. Is this a church? Hop Pop says, and Anne's like, yeah, pretty much, right? And Anne has a moment here where she's like worried about her parents, right? Like she still thinks of her parents kind of in a certain way. She's like, they're still just parents. They go to the grocery store, right? They don't help you fight interdimensional wars. They're just parents, am I right? But you know, as we get at the end of this episode, Anne has greatly misjudged how badass her parents can really be. So yeah, she really undersells them here. And you know, Hop Hop says like, oh, she's so 80s is what this like 80s movie is supposed to be. So maybe it's supposed to be like a reboot of something. Hop Hop has a line here where, you know, he's like, well, good thing today's a stress-free day with no danger or conflict. Cut to immediate danger and conflict. The show just loves to do that gag, and it makes me laugh every time, so I absolutely love it. But Mr. X is finally here, right? He shows up at Tai Go. He shows up at the restaurant. The damn trilogies. Yeah, it would be another cliffhanger, huh? So Mr. X shows up at the restaurant, and of course we get we get his iconic freaking Heelys. Why did they give this man Heelys? Like, I cannot. This is kind of the main reason, in my opinion, why I don't think he's gonna be that big of a villain or like that serious of a threat. Because like, how are you gonna put a man in Heelys and expect me to take him seriously, right? Like, I think that Mr. X is eventually going to come around or change his mind when it comes to what his goals are, and eventually come to the side of Anne and the Planters and helping them out, because I just can't imagine a villain. Like, Andreas is a goofy villain. He has like his comedic moments and stuff like that. But I just can't take a man in Heelys seriously. I just can't look at this man and think that he's an actual threat when he's wheeling into the restaurant like this. It's so ridiculous. I will admit that I had Heelys when I was a kid, when I was like in middle school, and they like first came out and they were like the new big thing that like everyone had. I did get my parents to buy me a pair of Heelys, but being the completely uncoordinated and unathletic person that I am, I could not learn for the life of me how to use them properly, and they just like completely went to waste. I never used them. I never properly learned how to look cool or wheel on them, so they were just totally a waste of money for me. But yeah, unfortunately, I was not cool enough for Heelys. This is also kind of a fun little character moment for Mr. We find out that he can speak Thai. He was stationed in Thailand for a while, and he orders some pad see ew right before he casually pulls out the photo that he has in his pocket to show Anne's mom. I'm not impressed until I see him use them in combat. That's really funny, Rooster. You see any odd creatures walking around, probably disguised as humans, and I have a feeling that Anne's mom is not necessarily the best liar. She immediately gets nervous and starts sweating, and she's like, wow, they are so strange. Who's even asking, right? And this guy shows off his FBI badge, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Mr. X, and there is his photo there. So yeah, we get this confrontation between Mr. X and Anne's mom, and she has this really funny moment here where she's like, yay, government, right? She's really trying to play up the innocence here. And she tells Mr. Boonchoi to hurry up, and just in time, they get String Bean detected. I love that this is their code name for Anne, calling her String Bean. I think that that's really funny and really cute. But they are able to detect her and figure out that she is, biking to the movie theater. And he has this pretty crazy, like, stun gun weapon that he's got here, which is actually pretty scary looking. So that's why, like, when I was watching this episode, I was like, is this guy supposed to be like a big serious threat, or like how seriously am I supposed to take this guy, right? Because like he's a little scary sometimes, but also this man wears Heelys. I wonder if his last name is actually X. Yeah, I wonder if that's like his actual name or if it's like a code name or something like that, right? A grown man who wears Heelys with confidence should be considered a threat. Yeah, that's a good point, Egmer. That is also a very good point. And so Anne's parents, right, they are on it immediately, right? They hop in the car, they're trying to call Anne, they're trying to warn her, and we get this kind of funny moment where they are in the movie theater, and now what you've all been waiting for, another trailer, right? Have you guys ever gotten like super frustrated at the movie theaters when you're like waiting for your movie to start and you think that it's gonna start and nope, turns out it's just another trailer. I'll admit that I've never had that frustration. I quite enjoy watching movie trailers at the beginning of movies, and I never felt like there have ever been too many of them. But it does lead Hop Pop to have this really funny line where he's like, you call yourself a civilized society and you have 20 minutes of trailers. Like, I just thought that that was really funny. Like, considering the fact that like he didn't even know what a movie was before Anne got to Wartwood. And also Sprig is a little overwhelmed at the sound and the picture, right? But Polly's all about it. Polly's like, I'm all about getting my ears to bleed. I'm ready for it, which is pretty funny. And, you know, Anne has this really funny line too, where she's like, huh, yeah, I guess it is pretty difficult to hear anything, huh? And she just completely obliviously misses the fact that her phone is ringing in her pocket, which, yeah, it's pretty funny. We cut to the highway, right? Anne's parents are trying to catch up to Mr. X and Jenny. And, you know, Mrs. Boonchoy is like, it's because you drive like an old man. And she just grabs the wheel and goes absolutely nuts. She's like railing on the side of the highway. Like, this is so dangerous. This stresses me out so much. And then when they cut in front of Mr. X, you know, this was kind of a funny little nod to LA traffic where Mr. X is like, man, this city, because yeah, the traffic in LA is pretty brutal indeed. And he's got some crazy, like, you know, go-go gadget kind of technology here that we've never seen before. And he's able to just extend the wheels up and just cruise right over traffic. No problem whatsoever. But of course, this causes an issue for the Boonchoy family. I thought this was funny too, where Sprig is like, well, it was no suspicious island or suspicion island. And this is another fun like meta joke, right? Where Anne has this line where she's like, I really enjoyed the protagonist. She was pretty fun. And I like that she had flaws and had room to grow, which is exactly what one could say about Anne at the beginning of Amphibia. So I thought this was a fun little meta joke that we got from Anne here. The best way to deal with LA traffic, right? Just go right over it. I realized Mr. X has a wedding ring. I wonder if he's married to Jenny. Ooh, I didn't even catch that, Zoe. That's a good eye that you've got there. Activate the car Heelys. Oh my god, he would call them car Heelys, huh, Rooster? But yeah, I really enjoyed this little meta joke from Anne where she's like, the protagonist was flawed and had room to grow. And it's like, haha, I see what you did there. Very clever, very clever. She checks her phone and she sees the texts that she got from her mom. Her mom frantically sent her a secret agent. Watch out for ice cream truck. And lo and behold, there is the ice cream truck and there is the secret agent with all of his swag and all of his style. I love how much style that they give to Mr. X, right? This is another reason why I think that he is not meant to be too much of a threat and maybe will eventually turn to our side, because not only is this man healing and wheeling into this building, but he does like kind of a fun little twirl and like a fancy pose right at the door. So I think this is why he's meant to be more of a fun character and less of a serious threat. Jenny vaguely gives me Peridot vibes. Yeah, I've heard that a lot, Hyrule. I've heard a lot of people comparing Jenny to Peridot, which I think is kind of funny. You know, they both got kind of like the glasses and kind of the dorky character design, and Jenny has like kind of triangular hair as well, similar to Peridot. So yeah, I have seen that. I have seen that comparison. Super swaggy and stunning. Yeah, I don't know how evil someone with that much swag can be, Morgan. I really liked this gag as well. Fumigator 5, he's back to make us more money. Because that's really the only reason that people make reboots and sequels these days anymore, really. Because, yeah, they just know that it's gonna make more money. Then again, Andreas was also a really fun character, and then he also stabbed a child. Yeah, but Andreas always did have a threatening aura to him, even from like the first episode, right? Like, he's really big for one thing. Like, his size was always really on the more intimidating side. And we also did get that scene before the planters actually met Andreas, where Andreas had like that kind of ominous moment with like the chessboard and like the chess pieces and stuff. So yeah, I feel like Andreas, even though he was a silly and fun character, he has a couple more threatening aspects to him that make me a little bit more afraid of him than I am of Mr. X, if that makes sense. Yeah, Morgan, I do think it's a reference to Fast and Furious. I thought that was pretty funny. I wonder if the he's back is a reference to I'll be back. Oh yeah, it could be like a Terminator reference too, because it is like Fumigator, right? Fumigator and Terminator. So probably, yeah, it's probably like a mashup of like Terminator and Fast and the Furious, because this show does like to do its like mashup references. And is like, we gotta find a way out of this place, but Mr. X has unfortunately already caught up with them, and he has kind of a funny line here where he's like, tell me, are you folks from the area or just visiting? Right? He's trying to suss out if these are extraterrestrials, which is quite funny. And he's like, oh, I love a good chase, which is yeah, another reason why I don't think that Mr. X is meant to be taken very seriously is that I get very like Tom and Jerry vibes from this episode, right? Where like we're playing this kind of cat and mouse chase game, and the cat is particularly easy to subvert and get away from. So I got that kind of energy from this whole chase sequence as well. So Mr. X is still healing and wheeling away. He's just rolling all along and chasing down our gang here. Anne and the planters try to make their way out of the movie theater, but they are unfortunately stopped because Jenny is at the door and scanning every person that that walks by, and we get some pretty funny little lines here too, right? Where this guy being scanned is like, I think I won something, and then the kid later on is like, oh, that thing tickled my brain or whatever. So we get some kind of funny, we're not really sure what this technology is necessarily doing to people other than scanning them. Anne ends up calling her parents, or her parents end up calling her, and again, this kind of conflict is there between the two of them, right? Where Anne's parents really want to help, they're like juiced up, they're ready to go, they want to protect Anne, of course, as well, and the planters. But Anne is still wanting to keep her parents a little bit at a distance. She's still worried about them possibly getting into trouble or getting hurt, and so she tells them to stay out of it. And I really like this line that Mrs. Boonchoi has here, where she's like, tell her we're adults and that we can make our own decisions, because she's so right? Because like Anne is trying so hard to protect her parents, but like they're her parents. They're the ones who need to protect her at the end of the day. So I really like this conflict between Anne and her parents. Like Anne wanting to keep her parents safe, but her parents insisting that they want to help, right? Mr. X does not seem to be too worried about it, but I think by the end of the episode, he realizes that he's been kind of overconfident and realizes that he's going to need to do some planning and thinking himself if he's gonna be able to catch these guys. So yeah, I do think you're right, Morgan, that Mr. X was overconfident in this entire episode, but I think that's a lesson that he learns by the end. He's like, okay, I can't be overconfident because these guys are giving me a real chase, which I really love. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, and the car license plate does say Boonchoi. That is a fun little detail. Anne and her parents end up accidentally calling Anne's grandma. This was quite a funny little moment where we get this FaceTime call with grandma, and she's like, Anne, is that you? I haven't seen you in forever. It's just kind of a funny, sweet, wholesome, random moment. And, Anne's like, yeah, I just had a sandwich. Like, just very, very classic grandma, very, very fun moment. She insists that her parents stay in the car to stay safe. And she says, bye, grandma, I love you, which is quite cute. Jenny is still continuing to scan people as they leave the movie theater. This kid is like, I think my brain got tickled or whatever, which is quite funny. Anne's parents are trying to come up with a plan to get them out of the movie theater, and Mr. Boonchoi ends up coming up with something, and he tells Anne's mom to drive to the pet store, and this is where the brilliant plan of the Boonchois comes into play. Oh, look, it's every conversation with a POC grandparent ever. Yep. They gotta tell you how long it's been since they last spoke to you. They gotta insist that you're too skinny and need to eat some food. Just classic traditional grandparent of color stuff, am I right? So Anne is desperately trying to come up with a plan. She doesn't know that her parents are coming up with a plan as well. The first thing that we need to do is, but unfortunately, Mr. X is pretty hot on their trail. And he's getting caught up behind them. Anne is continuing to run and try to find a place to hide. And we get a couple more fun little movie posters and little Easter eggs here. This snails poster, I don't know if this is a specific reference to anything, but snails. There's a poster for snails here. And then we get a couple more fun references. I thought this one was really funny. The spider in your home. To me, I thought this was a reference to the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, because they're all like Homecoming or like Far From Home or whatever, right? So I thought this was a reference to that, which I thought was really funny. Spider in your home. And then of course we also get this beautiful purple beast, which is Fast Rat. I require acceleration, which yeah, I think we can all guess what this is a reference to, but I thought this was really, really funny, and they just tickled me. These background gags always really tickle me. They always get a good chuckle out of me. So I really appreciated Fast Rat, who requires acceleration here. I think Snails is a reference to the movie Turbo. Maybe. Oh, is Turbo that movie about like the racing snails or something? That totally could be what the reference is, Morgan. You might be right there. That's really funny. Dead End. Oh, I wanted to also tell you that this Dead End poster, Mother, I require acceleration. That's funny. Yeah, Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. Those are the Spider-Mans, right? So yeah, I think the spider in your home is supposed to be a reference for that. So that's pretty funny. This Dead End poster, actually, I was talking about this with none other than Tom, our beautiful Tom from Curmudgeon Media, and so he sent me what this poster is actually a reference to, and I told him I would talk about it on stream and give him credit. So shout out to Tom for educating me, because Tom has seen every movie and every TV show in the world that I have not seen. So hold on. So this movie poster, Dawn of the Dead, that's what it is. This movie poster is supposed to be what that Dead End poster is a reference of, because as you can see, it's got kind of the similar like color blocking. It's got like the red and the black, yeah, and it says Dead End on it. So yeah, Tom told me to point out that reference that he got that I did not get. Anne ends up trying to, kind of trick Mr. X and run out of the room. But this guy is a little bit too quick. Polly actually is able to at least trip him with one of the movie reels. But he is still able to grab Hop Hop's ankle. And in pulling down Hop Hop's disguise ends up falling off, right? And Mr. X has this line where he's like, "What even are you, and why are you so slimy?" Right? Like he can't really fathom what these guys are. So that's what also leads me to believe that he doesn't really know about Amphibia or the actual other dimensions that the Calamity Box is able to travel to, because he has no idea that like they're even supposed to be frog people or whatever. So he's like surprised at this information. So that's also what leads me to believe that like Mr. X doesn't really know too much, at least maybe not too much of the actual truth. So it'll be interesting to see what he does actually know. Sprig also uses his tongue to throw one of the tapes at Mr. X, which gives them a little bit more of a advantage to escape, right? I wonder if this Snow or Never is also like a reference to something. We see like a snowman holding an axe, so I wonder if that's also a reference. I'm sure it is. I'm sure all of these are references that I just like don't understand. My film nerd heart broke at that moment. Oh, oh, when like Polly's destroying all these films and Sprig is like destroying these films. Is a snowman a Frozen reference? Maybe. Maybe a snowman is supposed to be a Frozen reference. Snow or never, snow or never, or whatever it's supposed to be. The planters are ready to continue beating this guy up. Like Polly is like ready to throw another film reel at him, and Hop Hop has got like the cardboard cut out, and he's ready to whack over Mr. X across the head too. But Anne's like, nope, we got to get out of here, and ends up bolting out of the room, locking the door behind them in order to try to slow down Mr. X. But Mr. X, being a federal secret agent, has some lasers in his watch, of course, classic. Very to be predicted, right? That Mr. X has some hidden lasers and stuff. And he's able to fry the lock and get out of the closet. And he has a kind of a fun, excited moment here, too, where he's like, you're not going to believe this. They are big, beautiful, talking frog people. And again, like this face that he makes where he's like absolutely excited and thrilled to be part of this chase with these frog people. This is also what kind of leads me to believe that he's not necessarily evil or like wanting to do anything harmful to the planters. I think that he's just really excited about aliens and maybe finally getting some like real evidence for his case, right? Snowman with an axe could also be a reference to Jack Frost, a horror movie about a killer snowman. Oh, yeah, Rooster, that could be it too. Very ineffective position for the laser. Yeah, well, you know, he gets out. He gets out eventually, Zoe. He calls in for backup, and Anne is really at a loss here. She's kind of at a dead end. She doesn't really know what to do. So she ends up hiding in the bathroom with the planters. And we get a couple more little background gags here. Again, this show is just so on top of it all the time with the background gags. We get this little S symbol. So anyone who is around my age probably recognizes this S symbol. And then we get this little bit of graffiti in the stall as well that says, "Your mom is nice," which I thought was sweet. It's a nice little encouraging bit of graffiti. Mr. Boonchoy ends up calling Anne again, saying that we've got a plan and it's really good. Hop Hop has 3 confirmed kills if you count the curator. I have no doubt in my mind that he would kill Mr. X if given the chance. Yeah, Hop Hop absolutely has blood on his hands. The cool S. Yeah, exactly, Zoe. But Anne, despite the fact that her dad is like, it's a really good plan too. Like, he's so excited about his plan, right? But Anne is really insistent on not wanting her parents to get involved and get in trouble. So yeah, I do feel for her in this moment here where she's like, seriously guys, we got this. It's 4 against 1. We'll just like rush him. And we get this like kind of funny moment too with this like random citizen, right? Who's like, oh, man, this city, always weirdos in the bathroom. Anne's parents are worried about Anne, and of course, the backup is finally here as well, and the FBI agents start coming out and ready to corner the planters, right? They got the call from Mr. X, and we get this really awesome action shot with Anne's parents and their power tools and stuff. I love these two so much. They're seriously so fun, so badass. Absolutely love how they show up for their daughter here and are ready to go. Like, they're just so revved up, and I absolutely love that. Let's grab ourselves some frog aliens, Mr. X says, and they surround themselves at the stall, right? And Anne is like ready to fight. She's like, let's go for the eyes once they open the door, right? But the power ends up getting cut out. And when the lights come back on, this I thought was so brilliant and also very, very funny that the lights come back on. And what we see here are 2 frogs and a little tadpole in a bag. You know, the brilliant plan making of Mr. Boonchoy here. I thought this was so fun and so clever. This is really fun, right? The FBI agents see these frogs and they're like, yeah, nice frog alien, sir. And they end up laughing him. And so this is also kind of why I'm under the impression that Mr. X doesn't have too much solid evidence himself of aliens because the rest of the FBI agents and maybe even like his superiors or whatever in the FBI don't necessarily believe him and are maybe like looking for more solid proof. But that gets me wondering, like, why does the government even have this extraterrestrial expert anyway if like they don't believe that aliens exist? So yeah, it's a little unclear, how much people are like willing to believe Mr. X, because we can see here that he is not taken very seriously, right, by the rest of the FBI. So yeah, but also I think that this is a really fun kind of like cat and mouse game that we're playing with Mr. X, right? Like even though we have managed to lower his defenses, right? Like he's not going to be able to as easily call for backup anymore because he's going to be like frog aliens, and the FBI is going to be like, yeah, we know what you think your frog aliens are, and we're not going to waste our time and resources and backup to entertain your, ideas, Mr. X. So Mr. X is now going to be alone with Jenny trying to catch the planters without the help and the backup of the rest of the FBI. So I think that this was like a really clever way to kind of like diffuse the threat of the FBI without completely eliminating it, right? Like Mr. X is still very much going to be after them, but he's not going to be as big of a threat because he doesn't have the entire FBI, backing him up anymore. Gotta have an alien expert just to cover all your bases, just in case. I guess that's true, Rooster Tamer. I guess that's true. The government pays for, as we have learned in these past couple years, the government usually has like a pandemic response team. The government will have like a nuclear response team in case there's any threat of nuclear threats. The government has a space force, right? So of course it makes sense that they would have an extraterrestrial division just in case, just to cover all their bases, right? Think there may be some evidence but never found an actual alien. That's true, Zoe. There could be some hidden evidence in their files somewhere. Fun fact, the trailer voice guy is Matt Braley. Oh, really? Matt Braley just loves to voice act random characters, huh? That's really funny. But I do like that, Mr. X isn't completely upset, right? Like he is obviously frustrated by the fact that his plan got foiled and that, the FBI is now completely laughing at him, but he's also kind of like, these guys are smarter than we thought, and this is going to be like a real chase now, right? Like someone was saying earlier that Mr. X was overconfident in this episode, and now I think he's learned that he can't be overconfident, right? And so it's going to be really interesting to see what his strategy is when he comes back for the planters, whether he's going to be a little bit more calculative, be a little bit more careful in his execution, now that he knows that these guys are pretty smart and able to get away from him. The Boon Choys and the planters end up crawling out of the vents, and Anne is like, I can't believe you guys pulled that off. And, Anne's mom is like, we have a special set of skills. And, I totally have to give it up for Anne's parents here, because parents do kind of have like superpowers sometimes. And this is a really good example of just like the way that parents can really step it up and be superheroes, right? Mrs. Boonchoy was able to temporarily distract the FBI agents with a little bit of magic tricks with Domino. Anne's dad is able to get the frogs from the pet store because he was able to actually chat a little bit with the salesperson. This guy is someone from like Anne's little league or whatever. So that's kind of fun. Your T-ball coach, that's right. And then I loved this sequence here, like just the shot of them like sneaking, like this little sneaky pose that these guys are in, that Anne's parents are in, is quite fun, really really funny. And they end up, you know, messing with the wires and messing with the control panel to put out the lights, which is just great. It's so fun, so awesome. What is T-ball anyway is like a quick little gag line that Hop Hop has in there too, and you know, Anne really takes this to heart, right? She's like, I can't believe that you guys did all of this. And we get this really funny close-up. Amphibia is great when it comes to these like close-ups and these like dramatic expressions and stuff, right? But she's like, she says that she misjudged them, right? Which is quite interesting. So it'll be really nice to see the way that Anne and her parents interact as we go forward, now that Anne has a little bit more faith in her parents, now that she's willing to kind of allow them to help them out as well, right? So let's see, the FBI just going along with Mrs. Boonchoy's stuff is comedic gold. Yeah, I thought that was really funny, Zoe. If I had a nickel for every episode that ended with Hop Pop's cut-off scream, I'd have 2 nickels. Yeah, right, Zoe? This episode did, in my opinion, have a little bit of like a little bit of a bizarre ending. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. That's kind of a funny gag to end on. But yeah, so the Boonchoys end up confessing, right? They're a little bit shy and nervous here to admit, but they did confess to putting a tracker on Hop Hop, and there's this funny moment where Hop Hop's like, you know, oh, I was wondering what that beeping was, and I just love like this frame that I paused on here. Like we have Hop Hop with this random blinking device taped to his chest, and Anne's parents are like shyly kind of like coyly looking to the side, and Anne is just like, her eyes are bulging out and she's like, what? You guys are crazy. And Sprig and Polly are just kind of like, okay, we're here too. But yeah, this frame and just all their expressions are really really funny, and you know, we get this funny moment where Polly like rips the tracker off of Hop Hop's chest and he like just screams. And yeah, it's just a very bizarre ending, but a funny little gag to end the episode. But yeah, that was Mr. X. I thought that was a really fun episode. I thought Mr. X had a really solid introduction. Again, I'm really unsure of how seriously we are supposed to take Mr. X. On one hand, we as like, you know, earthlings ourselves, we are pretty familiar with like the tropes of the government coming after you know, our protagonist and stuff like that. So we have some reason to be pretty wary of the FBI and Mr. X. But due to how kind of like silly he is and that he's rolling around on his heelys everywhere, it's very hard for me to take him too seriously, which is why I do think that he's going to maybe eventually come around to helping us out, or yeah, in some ways being more of an aid than a hindrance. Whether that's intentional or not, I still don't know. But yeah, I think that we're not meant to take Mr. X too seriously, but it'll be interesting to see what his next plan is and how he's going to try to come back for the planters now that he knows where their restaurant is. He's able to go find them there. He doesn't necessarily know where they live, so at least they're safe at home. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Mr. X and Jenny come together and try to get the planters in their next plan. I would love to hear if you guys have any theories or have any ideas on how Mr. X might be able to come back and get these guys, but I'm really excited to see him again. I'm really excited to see what he's going to try to pull off without the help of backup with him. You know, he's on his own now with just him and Jenny and their ice cream truck. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what kind of plan he comes up with to come for the planters. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump right into the second episode, Sprig's birthday. So we start off with Anne reading Dante's Inferno, and there's a really funny cover on the front of it here with a guy just like shrugging which is pretty funny. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Dante's Inferno, it is a classic piece of literature from, you know, the Greek days, and it's supposed to be a description of the 7 layers of hell and like our journey, depending on how badly we were in our real lives, like where we go in hell. So it's supposed to be sort of a journey through hell, which is funny that, you know, Anne's reading this and she's like, I give it a B for story and an F- for helping us get home, right? So hey, at least she's reading books and enjoying it for what it is. But unfortunately, learning about the depths of the several different layers of hell is not helpful for interdimensional travel, unfortunately. So Anne is like, how's your research going, Sprig? And he's like, I think we're getting somewhere. And this is just where Sprig continues to be an ADHD icon and neurodivergent, just king in general. And he's like, I built a giraffe. And I thought this was delightful because, yeah, he built a giraffe. Good for you, Sprig. I'm so proud of you for building this giraffe. I think it looks great. But Anne, you know, she learned some lessons from the museum episode, right? She's like, I think it's time that we take a break. And they decide to play some finger football with their little folded up thing. And this is quite a sweet moment, right? With Hop Hop and Polly. They sneak in with a little bit of a suspicious look on their face. And Anne's like, what's up with you guys? And oh, nothing. We're just looking for a place to put this mud crown. And they've got this beautiful crown with leaves sticking out and like a worm coming out of it. This thing is very, very cute. Let's see. If you've ever played DMC, you understand Dante's Inferno about as well. I get Greek mythology from being a PJO trash child. That's funny, Hyrule. That's really funny. Amphibia could be considered a hell realm. That is not too far off, Rooster. That is a very good point. I read the Divine Comedy and let me say not enough jokes. That's funny. That's really funny, Zoe. They are like ready to put this mud crown on Sprig. Sprig has this really cute face throughout this entire scene too, right? And Anne is just like confused. She has no idea what's going on. And then they explain, well, what's going on in Amphibia, it's customary to put the mud crown on someone's head when it's their birthday. And I really love Sprig's face here. I think this is just so adorable. Like him and his stupid little tongue sticking out and them doing their little birthday dance. It's really adorable and very wholesome and very, very sweet. And I love Sprig. Sprig is such a good boy and I adore him. It's just a very cute little moment, right? With Sprig and Hop Hop and Polly. Yeah, Anne feels bad though. She has like no idea that it was Sprig's birthday, right? The worm in the crown has an S shape for Sprig. I like that, Zoe. I think that's totally accurate. But Anne is feeling some guilt here, and you know, I kind of I don't know about all of you, but I kind of got a little bit of like season 1 Anne in this episode. Like, of course, we know that Anne has like come a really long way in terms of her character growth and in terms of like understanding like what friendship really means, right? Like this episode actually really reminded me of the first episode of the show where Anne is like trying to convince Sprig to sneak out of the house and to like go to the lake because that's what like friends do for each other, right? Like friends help friends get the stuff that they want. And they're willing to break the rules and all of that stuff as well. So I kind of got like a little bit of a flavor of like season 1 Anne in this episode. So I thought that was interesting. Just to kind of show like, yes, she has grown and yes, she's changed a lot from season 1. But at the end of the day, she's still Anne, you know, and she still kind of has these flaws of like learning what true friendship actually looks like and what that means. And I feel like by the end of this episode, she really does understand. And I feel like this episode was really critical in her coming to that understanding. Like finally, like even though she's learned all these lessons about responsibility, she's learned all these lessons about like being a mature person, she still hasn't quite learned what it means to be like a good friend and what it means, what should be expected from friendship, right? And in this episode, she's kind of like a little bit on the same old Anne wavelength of thinking, being like, friends are there to give you a good time. Friends are there to have fun with. Friends are there to party and celebrate your birthday and to know, you know, these things about you. Friends know when your birthday is and how old you're turning and what your favorite gifts and stuff are, right? Like friends are supposed to do all these things. And that's kind of Anne's idea of like what friendship is. But by the end of the episode, right, we learn that Sprig doesn't really value those things as much as like Anne would maybe value those things herself, right? Like, of course, Sprig had a really great time in this episode. He had fun. He enjoyed his birthday. But, you know, at the end of the episode, he does explain to Anne that, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but he does explain to Anne that he really enjoyed the day just because he got to spend time with her, right? Like friends are there to spend time with you and to be there for you and to have fun with you, of course. But, you know, there's no expectations from Sprig, which is really, really, really sweet and really wholesome. Like all that he wants is to spend time with his friend, which is really adorable. And I feel like this is the episode that really drives home Anne's character growth, right? Like she still has this flaw of not quite understanding what real friendship is. But this episode really does kind of teach her that. Like friendship is not about giving your friend a one-of-a-kind experience or like doing all this crazy stuff just to like, you know, have a good time and impress your friend, but like you have a good time by spending time with each other, right? Like you have a good time by keeping each other company. And I think that that's really sweet and really, really wholesome. And I love that this interaction between Sprig and Anne kind of led to that revelation at the end of the episode. And your Sasha is showing, yeah, I kind of got like a little bit of like the old Anne of, you know, understanding what friendship was from Sasha and Marcy, right? Like Sasha kept insisting, and like if you guys remember, Anne's birthday was the day that they went missing from Amphibia, right? And Sasha kept insisting that they keep going out, go to this other store, go to the arcade, keep doing all these fun things. So yeah, that's actually a really good parallel, Zoe, that I didn't even really connect. That Anne is really acting like Sasha in this episode, where you know, Sasha was really insisting that they do all these crazy things for Anne's birthday, and now Anne's like insisting that they do all these crazy things for Sprig's birthday. And I think that is like a really beautiful parallel because, you know, in that episode with Sasha and Anne, Anne gave in to Sasha's beliefs, right? And in this episode, Anne kind of learns like those beliefs are incorrect. Like it's not about the crazy experience, but just spending time with the people you care about. That's important. I really love that connection, Zoe. I'm really glad that you pointed that out. Totally like Sasha, you know, I'm supposed to be your friend. I'm supposed to do all these things. This is what friendship is about, right? But we kind of get a correction at the end of the episode here. But Hop Hop, you know, has a moment to explain where what the Amphibia traditions for birthdays are, right? And Polly chimes in as well and explains that a frog is meant to quietly reflect on their life when it's their birthday. And you know what? I actually kind of like this tradition. I feel like this should be a human tradition as well, where we just kind of spend some time on our birthdays, reflecting on our experiences over the past year and kind of understanding ourselves a little better. We get this really kind of funny moment, right, where it's very serious with Sprig, and he's like solemnly looking out the window. The breeze is like dramatically blowing in his hair, and this very piano-y music is playing, and he takes a moment, and then he's like, well, okay, that's it, I'm done. It's quite funny that you know, he only needs kind of a few short moments to reflect on his life. I mean, he's 11, right? There's not that much life to reflect back on. I wonder if Hop Hop spends a little bit more time reflecting back on his life on his birthday. But yeah, it just takes Sprig like 30 seconds or so. And Anne is kind of like, wait, that's it? That's all y'all do on your honkin' birthday? And she really insists, right, that birthdays are meant to be fun and exciting, and we're gonna show you a really good time. And yeah, I'm really glad, Zoe, that you pointed out that parallel with Sasha, because I totally love that connection between Anne and her own birthday, right, and understanding it. Because I'm your friend, right? She really does believe that it's like the duty of a friend to do this kind of specific stuff, right? This gag this gag right here really freaking got me, I will admit, because I feel really bad for Mr. Boonchoi. He keeps like getting the short end of the stick in these last few episodes. He keeps being the butt of the joke. He's got his beautiful flowers that he's tending to in his garden here. And he has a line about his flowers where he's like, oh, my precious little impatiens, or whatever he calls them. And for a moment, at least for me, when I was watching this, for a moment, I thought that when Sprig threw the crown, it was going to like land in the flowers and like totally mess up Mr. Boonchoi's flowers. And I was going to feel so bad for him. But the fact that it unexpectedly instead, smacks him right in the head and he gets knocked out, stars in his eyes, and he lands face. This frame is also just really funny with Mr. Boonchoi's just face completely buried in his plants. How many hobbies does Mr. Boonchoi have? Yeah, this guy has a lot of hobbies as well. He's got his gaming hobby, he does gardening, he helps run the restaurant and all that stuff as well. So yeah, Mr. Boonchoi's a busy man. I also thought that as well. Yeah, I feel like that was a really funny like twist on the gag that we've been getting with Mr. Boonchoi so far. Like all of his stuff keeps getting ruined, and we expect his flowers to get ruined here, but he gets knocked out and face plants into the flowers instead, which is really, really funny. This got a really good laugh out of me. This is really sweet. Sprig and Anne end up kind of biking to wherever they're gonna go, and they have this really funny exchange here, right, where Anne is kind of talking about like the abuse they give this man. I know, poor Mr. Boonchoi, right? I really hope that he has a really like awesome badass moment like towards the end of the series that kind of like make up for how much of a punching bag he's been throughout these last few episodes. But yeah, I really do feel bad for him, the poor guy, bless his heart. Anne has a really great line here where she kind of explains the difference between Earth birthday and Amphibia birthday, and she has like a line here where she's like, wow, like so brainwashing, right? And Sprig kind of asks like, oh, are you talking about Amphibia or are you talking about Earth, right? Like what do you mean by brainwashing? Of course, Anne means that the Amphibia tradition is brainwashing, but we know that it's actually kind of more the Earth tradition that is a little bit more brainwashy-y, right? Because again, this is like this misunderstanding that Anne has of like what is a good friend supposed to be, what is a good friend supposed to do. And she does have kind of like a skewed idea of that from Sasha and Marcy. Birthday montage, right? And we get this beautiful montage where Sprig and are doing a bunch of really fun stuff. They start at the mall. Party Village is where they go, right? Which is a kind of a, I think supposed to be Party City. Party City is the real life location. I love this little outfit that they get for Sprig. It's so cute. He gets a little cupcake mask. His little sweater says birthday boy with an F, which is very cute. He's got a little pointy party hat and some sunglasses that say 11 on them, which is really adorable. Yeah, just so cute. Over the hall. It's a really fun hat that he's got here. They end up going to, I think this is actually supposed to be Santa Monica Pier, if I am not mistaken. I have been to Santa Monica Pier before because I went to school, I went to college in Southern California. So I have been to Santa Monica Pier before. It's quite fun. but it's definitely kind of like, a touristy-ish location. So it makes sense that, Anne would bring Sprig here for his birthday. And I thought this was a really funny little bit too, right? Where they are trying to get onto the roller coaster, but obviously Sprig doesn't meet the height requirements. But they point out that it's his birthday, and the guy actually, gives in. He's like, "Okay, you're adorable. I can't say no to that cute face," and ends up letting Sprig onto the roller coaster, and he almost flies out of the roller coaster. But Anne ends up grabbing him, and this is just a really sweet photo of the two of them. They've both got these really adorable smiles on, and the passengers in the back are just like absolutely shocked at the fact that this kid is like flying out of the roller coaster. And yeah, we get kind of confirmation here that this is supposed to be Santa Monica Pier, because we get this Santa Monica on the photo here. So it's really adorable. They end up going to this restaurant too, and there's a really funny moment where Sprig always does this. Like, this is kind of a recurring gag with Sprig, where he'll eat stuff that like is either spicy or has like fire on it, and so he'll like burp out fire after that too. So this is a fun recurring gag with Sprig that we get here. And at first you think that, this is gonna burn down the building or something, but instead the mariachi band ends up swapping out their instruments for like this electric guitar and this like electric guitar, and they're like absolutely rocking out to this like hardcore music in the fire. So yeah, this is just it's fun. It's just a silly little gag, and it's really fun. And then they end up taking this like Swan Lake ride and riding the carousel. Just doing like really classic kind of LA kind of things. They go see the Hollywood sign, and I thought this was also a really funny little gag where they go see the Hollywood sign and they're like, yeah, not impressed. Like, it's just a bunch of letters on a hill. And I think that's a common experience that people have when they are tourists and they want to go check out like the cool touristy stuff. Some things end up being a little underwhelming, right? And so I think that was a really fun gag. I was expecting to hear Spanish in this show. Yeah, there's a lot of Spanish speakers in Southern California, Zoe, so totally could be. Griffith Observatory is also a real place. This is a pretty famous observatory in the LA area as well. And I love that Anne decides to take Sprig here and gets his birthday present from here too, which ends up being the little telescope. Because we see Sprig, use the telescope in the old intro. So yeah, I thought that was just really sweet and really thoughtful and adorable. We get another like funny exchange here, right? Where Sprig's like, "I even made a new friend," and Anne's like, "No, that was the security guard yelling at you." And Sprig's like, "Psh, everyone's your friend on your birthday." And Anne's like, "Now you're getting it." So yeah, just really sweet, wholesome vibes just throughout this whole montage. When they're biking home, right? Sprig's got his little birthday boy sweater. They've got balloons on the bike, and so they end up like wishing Sprig a happy birthday as they're riding down the street. And this is another just little funny little gag where this guy is like, "It's actually my birthday too," right? Just really funny. Just lots of just funny jokes in this episode for sure. Sprig is grateful for the incredible birthday. He feels really like special, and he like had a really great time, and he's like really enjoying himself. He says like today was amazing and it was the best birthday. And Anne says this line where she's like, "I hope it's the best birthday you've ever had." And Sprig says, "Oh yeah, definitely in the top 3." And I wish that he could have stopped to explain what he meant by this being the top 3 birthday, because Anne kind of misinterprets that, right? And she's like, "Wait, this isn't the best birthday ever? I'm gonna keep going until you think it's the best birthday ever," right? So again, this is a little bit of the Sasha energy that we kind of were talking about earlier, right? Where the way that Sasha was really insisting that Anne has the best birthday ever. You only turn 13 once. And she also kept insisting that they like keep going, right? Despite Anne's protests. And here Anne's kind of doing the same thing, right? Where Sprig's like, "Yeah, this is the top 3 birthday. We've kind of already done everything." But Anne is like not really willing to give up. So I thought, yeah, I can't get that parallel out of my head, Zoe. I really am glad that you pointed that out because I totally wouldn't have made that connection. The Emily girl shows up again. Yeah, I love that we kind of see the same background characters throughout the show, right? Throughout the season. Would like to say happy birthday to the random guy on the road, right? Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Anne is absolutely trying her best. She just got to learn that top 3 is perfectly fine, right? Especially compared to what Sprig's first 2 top birthdays are. But Anne sees this poster for the hot air balloon rides, right? And Anne's dad is just the best. Anne's dad just doesn't ask questions. He's so willing to give him a ride to this hot air balloon thing. My parents never would have done something like this, so it's really awesome that Mr. Boon Choi gives him a ride here, and he ends up having this Monday Cat graphic novel to keep him busy. We've seen this Monday Cat comic before in the season, but it's just funny that we're seeing it again here. And Mr. Boon Choi has like a really funny line here where he's like laughing and he's like, simply brilliant, right? Which I thought was just so great because Garfield, this Monday Cat or Tuesday Cat, whatever this cat is supposed to be. But Garfield, in my opinion, is kind of like peak dad humor, or like not peak dad humor, but it's dad humor, you know. So it really does fit that Mr. Boon Choi is a fan. So I thought that was really funny. Jeff Boon Choi is just so wholesome. Oh my god, Morgan, I hope his name isn't Jeff. Oh my gosh. This part was also just full of some really great gags. Really funny moments in this episode that just really got a good laugh out of me. Anne and Sprig are excited to get in the hot air balloon, and Anne's really happy that, she's continuing to give Sprig a really great birthday. But of course, when they see the balloon, it's this horrifying monstrosity that is just absolutely terrifying. It's got like these veins on the head, and it's got like the most scary looking clown face that you can even possibly imagine. I'm wondering if this is like a reference to It or Pennywise, because it does kind of have a similar design to that. And the guy does mention here that this balloon was used to promote a horror movie of some kind, because they don't want to let a perfectly good balloon go to waste. So yeah, this absolutely terrifying clown balloon does lead us to some pretty funny gags later in the episode. So yeah, this really tickled me. It's somehow worse than the I Eat Kids balloon from Gravity Falls. Yeah, Rooster, I was reminded of that balloon too, the horrifying Grunkle Stan hot air balloon. Yeah, clowns are scary, Zoe, especially when they look like this. When they look like they are actually going to murder you, they're a lot more scary, I will admit. Pennywise is commonly associated with balloons. That's true. That's very true. The clown guy who is gonna take them up in the hot air balloon ends up saying that they can't actually go up in the balloon because he gets a warning for the winds on his phone. And this is again kind of one of those moments that reminds me of like the old Anne, the season 1 Anne, because we've seen so much growth and responsibility be taken on by Anne. And, maybe if this wasn't about Sprig, if this wasn't about Sprig's birthday and about her like determination to give Sprig one of the like the best birthdays of his life, maybe she would have been a little bit more responsible and a little bit more receptive to, oh, okay, like it's too dangerous. We can't go up in the balloon now, right? Like, because I feel like it's a little strange that Anne is like breaking the rules in this episode, but again, I think the parallels to Sasha are really evident here, and I think that this is the episode where Anne really kind of learns like what does real friendship mean and what does real friendship look like, right? Anne is like, can we at least just like sit in the basket and pretend that we're writing for a little bit, and the guy's like, sure, you don't even need me to be around for that, right? And as soon as he said that, I was like, wow, this guy is an idiot. Like, he's just gonna leave them unsupervised. Like, wow, brilliant plan, guy. Anne ends up turning it on, and they end up going up, and Sprig's like, isn't this kind of risky? And of course Anne is insisting that they'll be fine, which she ends up eating her words in not too long, right? But not before this really beautiful moment, right? Where they are floating up at least a few feet off the ground and looking down on the city with the sunset. And yeah, this is a really beautiful shot. I absolutely love the backgrounds in this show. They're always so stellar. The coloring in this shot is absolutely gorgeous as well. Yeah, just really makes the world look magical and beautiful, especially like considering that we're getting this kind of from Sprig's perspective. This is like seeing a whole new world, right? And so yeah, I really love like that feeling that we get from this shot, this like magical, brilliant, expanded world that we're now a part of, right? And that we now get to explore. Like, I thought that this shot was really beautiful. IDK, Anne thought, well, this is a good idea. Yeah, Morgan, Anne has a lot of ideas that end up not being great ideas. This is just the artists flexing their ability to draw backgrounds. Absolutely, Zoe. There are a lot of backgrounds where it just feels like the artists are flexing. Yeah, I don't know why Anne thought this was a good idea either, Morgan, but you know, lo and behold, the winds that we got the warning of end up kicking in, and it is strong enough, right, to pull the tether out of the ground, and they end up flying straight into the city, out of control. This clown guy comes walking back in, and he's like, well, I'm definitely fired. And yeah, I think that's safe to say. I think it's safe to say that this guy's definitely losing his job. The shot of the boiling aisles was too. Disney artists have gotten really good at that lately. Yeah, absolutely. The Owl House and Amphibia are both shows with beautiful backgrounds, incredible art, incredibly talented crew to be working on them. Yeah, totally agree with you. Anne and Sprig are out of control. This whole sequence of jokes were so funny. I absolutely was cackling throughout this entire sequence. I thought it was so freaking hilarious. Like, these jokes are just absolutely stellar, purely absurd. Anne is like, I'm gonna control the up and down, you use your tongue to steer us. Injured, would you like to be? The billboard says, which is really funny. Yeah, so many good gags in this sequence, right? So that was the first one, the injured. I paid for this half too. Please call me. Like, oh, the visual gags are just so good. They end up, you know, trying to get over traffic, and this next gag also just really got a really hard laugh out of me. You know, they're passing by this building, and there's an open window, right? Lots of gags actually in between that first, right? We get the news helicopter. This news helicopter. We got this pug that we've actually seen before too. This was the pug that the girl was walking in the last episode. And he's trying to, you know, take a piss at this hydrant and ends up getting spooked. This guy is working at his office, and again, there's so many details that I don't get the first time I watch this, but then as I'm rewatching it, I like notice these things. But you can see kind of like in this cubicle, these little rabbit guys are here, and I think that's the same rabbit from the movie poster that we saw in the last episode, and like the dancing gif that Polly saw in the Frobo episode. So yeah, just lots of little tiny gags that I absolutely adore. They get yeah, that's true, Rooster. We get our second gay couple as well in this bit. This joke made me laugh so hard. This was so unnecessarily funny. Like, this is so ridiculous where this guy is like, yeah, I think you've cured my fear of eye contact. And he like triumphantly is so proud of himself. He stands there at the window, ready to face the world, overcome his newfound fear of eye contact. But then the balloon comes across, and of course it has the most terrifying eyes you could even possibly imagine. And this guy gets so freaked out, he flips the table and like runs screaming. And this is just so freaking funny. Like his shirt is half untucked, his eyes are like absolutely cross-eyed. The therapist is like, "Welp, there goes like months and months worth of work that we did." And yeah, this got a really, really good laugh out of me. I thought this was so freaking funny. Yeah, I thought he was gonna say something along those lines too, Zoe, of like my fear of clowns or my fear of balloons or something like that. But like my fear of eye contact is just so funny because yeah, when we get that frame of like just the absolutely horrifying clown face like just filling up the entire window, it's too funny. It's so freaking funny. That poor man's pockets probably paying that therapist so much. All out the window, Morgan. Completely gone. All the progress this poor man's made is completely gone. This is the next great gag of the episode. This skywriting is happening up in the air with this plane. Will you marry me? It's written out. This is a pretty common proposal tactic that some people use. And people have pointed out that these two dudes are the same from a previous episode where he was handing off the TV and, Anne and Sprig end up breaking the TV. So Anne and Sprig are really just like ruining these guys' relationship at every opportunity that they can get, apparently. And yeah, this got a really good laugh out of me too, because like it's just so ridiculous where he's like, "No, Tyler, I will not clown face you." Oh my god. And like the way that he says this too makes me kind of believe that maybe clown facing is a thing that like is a known phenomenon between these two. Like, "No, I'm not gonna clown face you again, Tyler." Like, I don't know. I just thought that was really funny and kind of the vibe I got from this. That therapist should thank Anne for yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point, Hyrule. That guy's definitely gonna need to be paying for more therapy sessions for sure. TV bros to marriage pipeline. I don't know though, Rooster. Maybe the wedding is off at this point because Anne and Sprig ruined it. No, Tyler, I will not clown face you. I just thought that was so funny. That was freaking hilarious. These poor two guys. Clown facing is an inside joke between them. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got too, Morgan. This was also a really, really funny gag where this girl is like, "I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know if I should be struggling with my job or if I should quit and pursue my dream of stand-up comedy." This was hilarious. She just wants a sign. I don't know what kind of sign this was supposed to be sending her, but apparently it was the sign that she needed, right? And she throws on the bow tie, spins the mic, and is like, "Hey, have you guys heard about the girl who probably made a really bad decision?" And she goes ahead and takes this horrifying clown face as the sign that she needs to quit her office job and pursue comedy. So they got a cameo of me, Zoe. That's funny. All right, Zoe, we're not going to be looking it up on Urban Dictionary. I don't want to know what clown facing is. Ugh, excuse me, guys. But yeah, this was really funny. This got a really good laugh out of me. All these three gags, especially like one after another, were really, really funny, really hilarious. This was a top tier comedic episode, in my opinion. In my onion, this was one of the funniest episodes. But that's just my onion. They end up needing to get the hell out of there as the balloon is gonna get punctured by this by this structure here, and they end up jumping to save themselves and falling, plummeting to their demise. And they have a little bit of an exchange here where Anne's like, I didn't even get to give you your birthday present, and Sprig's like, you got me a present? He's like, yeah, dude. But they end up being safe, right? Just through sheer luck, they end up getting thrown off of this tree. They land on a mattress that happens to be strapped to the top of this car, which is very, very lucky of them. This guy, again, just they squeeze these gags in, right? Like, there's so many little jokes that you would just totally miss on your first viewing. And this was another one that made me laugh really hard as I was rewatching the episode, where this guy is like, I'm gonna order 50 hot dogs, and the hot dog sales guy is like, oh, having a party, aren't we? And the guy is just like, no, why do you ask? Like, it's just so random. There was like no reason to put like an extra joke here, but they did it anyway just to squeeze another joke into the episode, and I appreciate that. I thought that it was great. Cartoon logic. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Morgan. They end up bouncing off the umbrella, right? And they're like flying through the air. I really love, we get this 180, right, face from Sprig again, where his mouth is just completely open. Classic Sprig face. And the hot dog guy is also Mr. Boon Choi's voice actor. That's cool. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Y'all know all these like fun facts that I don't know. Do I even want to know what those hot dogs are for? Sometimes y'all have such dirty minds. I don't even know what to do with you. I don't know what to do with you. And of course, they end up falling in a dumpster just to put the icing on the cake, right? But they are safe, of course. Anne ends up feeling really bad, though, because, you know, she really wanted to give Sprig a really special birthday. It's called checking the wiki, baby. Yes, absolutely, Rooster. He's definitely going to be stacking them on his head like an Undertale. I do remember that Easter egg. So Anne's feeling kind of guilty, right? Like, she's like, this was, you know, your first Earth birthday. I was supposed to be really special. I was going to give you the best birthday ever. And Sprig gives Anne a good old-fashioned friend punch, right? The punch that you give to your friend when they are being silly and being way too hard on themselves for no reason. Sprig gives Anne a friend punch, and she's like, wow, that hasn't happened in a while. And this is where we like really get to the heart of the episode, right? Where Sprig tells Anne that he didn't have a good time, and this wasn't in his top 3 birthdays because of the crazy stuff they did or the wild adventures that they had on this day, or, you know, what, any of that stuff. But it was because he got to spend the day with Anne and got to spend the day with his best friend. And we get this amazing crying face from Anne. Anne has some of the best like crying faces, I swear to God. This is another really great crying face where she's like, wow, that was really sweet, man. Like, yeah, just really, really wholesome. You know, she's really, really feeling the love from Sprig. And yeah, we get this really just cute, adorable moment between the two of them, where they realize that they don't need to do anything special to be besties. They just gotta hang out and love each other. And I love that. I really, really love that this is kind of the message in this episode, right? That just spending time with the people you care about is more than enough to have a good time. And I love that. Friend punches are the best. Friend punches are the best punches, Morgan. I totally agree. Sometimes when you're being silly and too hard on yourself, all you need is a friend to give you a punch with their tongue to remind you that you're being silly. Am I right? Yeah, I agree, Morgan. I absolutely love all the expressions in this show. They're so over the top. They're so like cartoony, really, really fun. And yeah, Anne especially has some of the best faces for sure. The Owl House does also have really amazing facial expressions, Zoe. I will agree with that. But I think I like Amphibia's just a little bit more because we do get these like really, really silly, like over the top expressions with Anne. So yeah, I do love the Owl House expressions as well, Zoe, but I think Amphibia is a little bit more my favorite, in my opinion. That's just my onion. That's just my onion. Y'all can have different onions if you want. Glad you found the stream. I'm glad you found the stream too, Averted. Super glad to have you here. We are going to be wrapping up soon because we are at the end of this episode, but hopefully you'll be able to join us next time as well. So, Anne has to know what are the top 2 birthdays, because Sprig keeps insisting that this is in the top 3. And he explains that, oh, thank you, Zoe, for reminding me to stay hydrated. But Sprig explains here, right, that his number 1 birthday was his original birthday, which is like, okay, dude, technicalities. You probably don't even remember your original birthday, whatever. But Sprig explains, right, that his number 1 birthday was the day he was actually born and given life. And Anna's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And what about number 2? And we get this really cute moment with Sprig, right, where he's like, it was the birthday where my mom and dad gave me this hat. It's a little fuzzy. My memory's a little fuzzy, but it's such an iconic hat, right? Which is just really, really sweet and really cute. I love that Anne, like, agrees with him. She's like, yes, it is iconic. Like, it's a great hat. The day I was born is the worst birthday I had. Yeah, Zoe. I think that's a fair argument to be made. But you know what? I'm glad that you were born, Zoe, because you got to hang out with me here today. And you wouldn't have been able to do that if you weren't born first. So I appreciate that. Anne ends up giving Sprig the present that she bought for him at the Griffith Observatory. And it's this really, really sweet telescope, right? And it's actually very similar to the telescope that Sprig had in the old intro, in the season 1 and 2 intro, where he's like looking out the window with his telescope. This reminds me of that telescope, except for this one is engraved. It has a little to Sprig from Anne with the heart, and it's really, really sweet and really thoughtful. And I wonder if this telescope is going to be more meaningful later on in the show, whether it's going to come into play in like some big way with the plot. Like, is there something that Sprig is only going to be able to see with this telescope or something like that? Or is this going to be more of like a symbolic prop of some kind? Like, maybe it's supposed to represent Sprig and Anne's friendship, and it comes into play later in that sort of way. So yeah, I'm really interested to see if this telescope does have any like greater significance. I would love to know if any of y'all have any theories for what this telescope could be later on. But for now, at very least, it seems to be just a very sweet and wholesome gift for Sprig's birthday, which I love. I'll be totally fine if it doesn't come into play later or anything like that either, because this is such a sweet moment. But I am interested to know if it is going to be important later on as well. Hope this is a Chekhov's gun. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for too, Zoe. I hope that the telescope comes back in some significant way later on. I think it might help with defeating Andrea somehow. That'd be cool. Yeah, right? Like if Sprig uses it in like a battle or something, that'd be really cool. This was also fun, right? Where Anne's like, let's get out of here because I don't want to look at that scary balloon anymore. And Sprig has this line where he's like, I see it whenever I close my eyes, right? And it's very similar to the lines that we get from like Hot Pop or from Polly, where it's kind of like a disturbing line out of context, but like they say it in such like this cheerful and chipper way that makes it just like really funny. I see it whenever I close my eyes. It's horrifying. Another day, another adventure resolved with no loose ends. Am I right? Right, guys? Totally no loose ends at the end of this episode. Cut to, of course, our favorite and yours, poor Mr. Boonchoy, hanging out all on his lonesome. He has probably read Monday Cat from cover to cover twice already in the time that he's been waiting for his daughter and his adopted son now, right? Sprig is officially part of the family. Waiting for them to come back from the balloon ride, but yeah, they just totally abandoned him and left him here all on his lonesome. And again, we feel bad for Mr. Boonchoi. This poor man has been the butt of the joke for quite a few episodes now. So yeah, I really hope he has a badass moment later on that kind of makes up for all of the punching that he's getting right now. I wonder how long it would take Mr. Boonchoi to get out of the car. Yeah, this poor guy is just getting stranded left and right here. But this was another just fun gag to end the episode with. But yeah, I really do think that this was an important episode for Anne in particular when it came to learning kind of about like the true meaning of friendship and what it means to be a good friend to someone. I feel like this was kind of like the last little bit of her character growth that she needed to go on. And this was just a really sweet and wholesome episode. Really love the dynamic between Anne and Sprig. These two are just like so adorable to watch, like so fun. Really love how much they care about each other and how much they just love and support each other. Like these two besties are just so wholesome and so sweet. And I absolutely love this episode. And so many fun gags, so many fun jokes that we got in this episode that absolutely made me crack up. Yeah, just really good feelings all around. I really enjoyed this episode. Poor Mr. Boonchoi, I want to give him a hug. I know, right? I want to give him a hug too. Hope he's getting some love when he gets home. Absolutely. He deserves it. He deserves it. He deserves it. I'm sure he does. I'm sure Mrs. Boonchoi treats him right. We discussed this in the last stream. We know Mrs. Boonchoi knows how to take care. We know she knows how to take care of Mr. Boonchoi. Oh my gosh. Well, that's the end of the episode. Let's see. What are next week's episodes called? I'm curious. Oh, that's right. We got Spider Sprig next week, which is determined to make his mark on Earth. Sprig becomes a superhero. That one sounds like it's going to be really, really fun. We'll probably get lots of fun Spider-Man references in that one too, or maybe some more fun superhero references. And Sprig is probably going to go on some fun adventures. I wonder if we'll see Mr. X come back. That'll be really interesting if that's the case. And then the next episode after that is one I'm really excited for, and I'm sure a lot of you are excited for this one. But that one is going to be Olivia and Yunnan. So we are going back to Amphibia. Back in Amphibia, Olivia and Yunnan try to rescue Marcy. So next week, we're probably going to get to see Marcy for the first time. We have no idea what's going to happen in that episode. I know that we've got a couple of clips in like the trailers and all of that stuff with Olivia and Yunnan, you know, helping Marcy escape, trying to get her out of the castle. We have no idea if Marcy is going to be like possessed by the night or whatever. We have no idea how Olivia and Yunnan are going to break her out. I know a lot of people are suspecting that Marcy is going to be possessed and that Olivia and Yunnan are going to help her escape, but that she's going to still be possessed, but like unknowingly, and that the possession might kind of like awaken itself later on, which if that's the case, that would be really, really interesting. So yeah, it seems like we're going to get to see Marcy in this next episode, but maybe we are not going to get to see possessed Marcy quite yet. So those are going to be my predictions for next week. I would love to know if you guys have any predictions or theories about next week's episodes as well. Let's see here. Yeah, I need my lesbian newts. Oh my gosh. I'll be so excited if those two end up getting together for real. I love that we've already gotten a couple like side characters that are LGBTQ on Earth, right? We've got the IT gals in the last episode that are bi and pan respectively. And then in this episode, one of our background gags was a gay proposal, which is quite fun. But yeah, I'm really excited to see Yunnan and Olivia. I totally agree. I need my Olivia content, Morgan. And Marky Woo. Oh my god, I did see that going around on Twitter, Morgan, that people have been calling Marcy Marky for some reason. But yeah, we'll get to see Marky Woo. She will return. Yeah, I'm really excited to see Olivia and Yunnan for sure, and seeing Marcy again. So yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see what's going on in Amphibia. I wonder if we'll see Sasha again as well. I have a feeling we won't, because we did get that one Sasha episode already where we didn't really see Marcy. We really only saw her, you know, what happened at the end of True Colors. And that episode was really focused on Sasha. So I feel like this episode, Yunnan and Olivia, is going to be a little bit more focused on Marcy. So I don't think we're going to see Sasha in this next week's episode. But I am excited to see Spider Sprig. I think that'll be a really fun one. And yeah, really, really anticipating seeing Marcy again, for sure. Oh my god, I'm literally squinting. The gals, the pals, the friend-shaped lizard friends. Please, Matt, you don't understand. I need this. Come on, Matt Bradley. We need this. We need Olivia to be canon. This is our one ask for the show. Yeah, I would lose my mind if Olivia ends up being canon. Because honestly, they are such a fun ship. Like, their dynamic is just really, really fun. And I think that they would make a really fun couple. I wonder if they're already together and dating in secret. Ooh, maybe, Zoe, maybe. That would be really fun as well. That would be really cool. Yeah, I want to see those newts kiss each other for sure. I want them to be moms. I want them to become Marcy's moms. We already know that Olivia's a little bit of a mom with her drinking juice in the castle, right? So yeah, I'm really excited to see those two newts again. Alrighty, y'all. Well, we are just about 2 hours into the stream. I've got to wrap it up because it is getting late for me as well. I'm going to put my glasses back on as well before wrapping this up, just so I can actually read the chat. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I know that it was a little crazy with my schedule. But yeah, so next week we will be back to our usual time as well. But I really do appreciate y'all being patient with me today and for tuning in, even though we had to do it at a different time. Really means a lot to me. I do feel bad for having to cancel on Geek Tunes, but yeah, hopefully we can make it up in the future and have him on at another time. And then, of course, every Sunday we'll be continuing our Amphibia discussion streams. And next week we should be back to our usual time. Today was just a particular day where I had to do some stuff with my mom. So now that we're back to our normal schedule, we should be back to 11 a.m. on PSTs on Sundays. Do it. Zoe, there was once upon a time where I actually knew like the polka rap by heart. Let me see how much I could do it off the top of my head. I want to be the best that ever was, to be all the rest, yeah, that's my cause. Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey, Seeking, Jolteon, Dragonite, Ghastly, Ponyta, Vaporeon, Poliwrath, Butterfree, catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon! I search across the land, look far and wide. Release from my hand the power that's inside. Venomoth, Poliwag, Nidorina, Golduck, Ivysaur, Grimer, Victreebel, Moltres, Nidoqueen, Farfetch'd, Abra, Jigglypuff, Kingler, Rhyhorn, Clefable, Wigglytuff. I actually knew a lot more of that than I thought I did. I'm kind of impressed with myself. I don't think I could do any more than that though. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much again for your patience today. I really, really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me that you guys hang out with me for these couple hours every week and chat about one of my favorite shows. It really, really means the world to me. It really means a lot to me. Like, I know I say this every week. I know I say the same words every week. Like, thank you, I appreciate you, it means a lot to me. But like, I really can't understate how much it means to me that you guys hang out with me every week. It seriously warms my heart, and I have so much fun during these streams. And it always makes me really sad when I need to cancel. So I'm glad that we were able to do it today, even though it was later than usual. But thank you guys so much again. I will see you all in the Discord server or next week for future streams. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and a wonderful rest of your week if I don't see you or chat with you. Stay safe, everyone. Wear a mask if you're going out. Get vaccinated if you're able to. I'm hoping to get my booster soon, so that would be really great. And yeah, I hope you all are taking care of yourselves and each other. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all next time. Bye.